Afternoon. Right, we are in the garage. It's time to wake Agatha up and let's see if we can get her out for a drive tomorrow. Unfortunately, the car show is a no-go, but I've thought of a better idea, possibly. Been fanning around with the Kia this morning, been and had a new key cut, all good, and had a little play with that dent in the boot. Not as good, but So yeah, I've got a few things to do on Agatha first. The suspension wants topping up, all the levels want checking, tyre pressures and stuff like that. I think I mentioned in the last vlog, she hasn't moved since around October, literally in that position the day I pulled her in. So yeah, I've not done a thing over this winter. Right, so as you can see, I think I showed you on the walk around video, got a bit of a dent at the back there. I'm never going to get this crease out. I have touched that up with a bit of black paint now, but the dent sort of starts here. I'm hoping to get the back tailgate off and just see if I can pop it out a little bit. Just 4 screws, 1, 2, and then the same the other side. Super. Well, that's a little bit better. I've got the majority of it out from the sides. Can't really do a lot with this because the metal's stretched and pressing it. I've now got a little high point there. I'm just going to leave that well alone. I could get a dent guy to fix it, but you know, we're into the realms of a new bumper then, and what's the point? It's still an old car, isn't it? But at least this main one's gone from there. You'll have to excuse the dirtiness. That's a week's worth of driving to work. I've got my centre cap sorted now though. Got 4 new centre caps, so that looks a bit better on them wheels. I will wash this later. I've also had the key done. Got a new key now. All good. 120 quid cash price, so we knocked the VAT off. Very happy about that. So at least I've got 2 keys now, and I've kept the new one for daily use because the old one was a bit wobbly. Right, so she hasn't dropped in any way. If you remember, I had a lot of problems over the years in the dropping. It's just sunk from settling. We have got, should be about 360, I think, 362 mil or something like that. Let's have a look what she is. Rough guide. Centre, so yeah, about 320. Got a 4 centimeters. Right, I have done a video on this before, but I'll just show you quickly. There's a swan neck each side by the front displacers, and you connect your pump up to that, tighten it up, and then once we've got some fluid in the pump, we'll spin the little locking pin at the top, the T-pin thing. I'll show you more on the other side. It's very tight this side, and then we make this black line part of the circuit, if you like, so the car will initially drop a fraction, and then we can put some fluid back in. Right, fluid is in. So at the minute, it's hard to show you this here, but this pin, where are we? This valve here, once I turn that in a moment, that would let fluid out. But first I'm going to make this line live. So let's just see what happens. As I say, it's been a while. Just got to hope that this is tight enough that it's not going to leak. And then turn this T-piece. You'll hear a hiss in a minute. Right, car's dropped a bit. And we shall just pump away. What have we got? Oh, you look high now, Agatha. That's about 37. So a little bit high. But I'm going to leave it at that for a minute and shake it. See what we've got. Right, that's a bit high. It's about 365. I'm going to leave it at that because I think it will settle. And it was looking very low. So I'm going to lock that back off now and do the other side. Still awkward to show you this side really. So here's the swan neck. And then where my finger is there, can you see? There's a little dust cap, same as on your car, for the tyres. Unscrew that. Brings that out like that. That frees up that Schrader valve there. And then we'll connect the line to that. It's, of course, this is the awkward thing when you haven't got two people. Filming is virtually impossible in enclosed spaces. And yet, in case you've been following the channel for a while, the barking dog over the back still lives, unfortunately. So here we go again. You'll feel a slight hiss in a moment when I make this into the line. At the minute the T-piece isn't screwed in, you see. It's not tight enough yet. Problem is, you see, this you're supposed to put a spanner on this, but the head's knackered, so I drilled a screw into it and I used the screw as leverage. There we go. Right, let's make that into a line again. See if it leaks this time. Can you see? We'll watch the car rise then. It's got a fair bit to go now because I lost a bit of fluid. But we shall get there, dear viewer. Arise like a man on Viagra. Come on, Agatha, you can do it. It's a bit more fluid. She's lost a bit there, hasn't she? Talk amongst yourselves. Let's see what we've got. Height wise, it's going to be very difficult this because the confines and all that. It's about 350. Locking bed. Let's have more. I'll go with that. So, take that out of there. So back to this now. I've got to undo my T-piece, which lets the Schrader valve go back in and disconnects the black line from the circuit like that. Now the only thing that's holding the pressure on the car is the Schrader valve. I've now got to undo that, as I say, very difficult one-handed, and I'm going to have to put you down for that. Hang on. It's not going to stay there. This is properly shonky filming. It'll all work in the edit. Make me look really good, wouldn't it? Yeah. Bloody hard job that'd be. Right. Let's go. It's so bloody awkward. And I've got massive hands as well. So calm yourself, ladies. you got here. That's alright, that's supposed to happen. Okay. Good, good. You can, there we go. Good, good. Come on then. Yeah, so look, if you see what has happened, this nut is supposed to be tight on that bevel there, allowing you to tighten that with a spanner, but it's not, it's come away. So I've drilled a self-tapper through it so that the self-tapper is now gripping that. Consequently, you can still get a spanner on, but only in certain angles. So I just tighten it hand tight with that, and it seems to work. So if you did want to let fluid out of the car, when it's connected on the line, you just undo this and then it allows the pressure past the valve and back into there. I'm obviously not doing that, but what I'm going to try and do, there may be some left in the line. So hung the line up there, and see if I let the pressure out of the line like that, it's letting what fluid is in that line back into the holding tank. Right, so all I'm doing now is I don't want to tip the used fluid, although it's still clean. I don't want to mix it with the never used. So that's what this little one's for. That way if I ever top up, I use the bit that I've messed about with first. I'm going to tip that back in there. Like that. And they can go on the shelf for the next time we either get a leak or top up. Right, so I should remember to tell you, if you're doing this job, always do it with the handbrake off. I don't leave the handbrake on when it's parked anyway. I leave chocks under the wheel, so I knew the handbrake was off, but yeah, straight away you can see we're at a more acceptable height now. Especially that looks nice. As I say, I think that will settle anyway and drop down a little bit, but it won't hurt. It's only about 8 mil higher than it should be. I think it'll settle. So next job is to see the levels are okay. I disconnect the battery all winter anyway, so I'm hopeful it should spin over. We check the oil, check the water, and really put some petrol in. I left it with fumes in the tank. I've got 10 litres of E5, so I'm imagining it's going to take some winding over when we've done that, but we'll see how we get on. I keep swapping from one camera to the other, so if you notice a difference in sound or picture, that's why. This film that you can see here is on a mounting on the wall in the garage, pointing at the engine, and then everything else is being done handheld. So consequently that will be why. Now I'm not changing the oil, and there's your reason. I did it last year. It's still as golden as you like. It's sitting on the minimum. That will be because the last time I drove the car was coming back from probably Gaydon. Is it that long ago? Jesus, probably. And yeah, we'd had a 100-mile run, so I never leave it on the maximum. But it's on the minimum and it's clean. So I'm not going to put any in yet. As long as it's there, I'll just double check. Yeah, it's on the minimum. I'll tell you what, I'll put a little bit in, so everybody doesn't shout at me. Minimum's minimum, maximum is maximum. If we go in the middle, there'll be something like. So somewhere, we've got, there it is. Look, it says 2050 Aga. That must mean it's for Agatha, the only car that uses 2050. There we go. About half a litre in there. Just check that again in a moment. Just check my water. The expansion bottle has got a little bit in it, but not a great deal. I did notice, just let me pull the other camera. I did notice I've got a little bit of furring there, which points to possibly a leak. Yeah, it looks a fraction damp on that housing. Not sure actually. That might be sealant. Anyway, something to keep my eye on. But I will put some antifreeze in, purely because I've got to, really, to start her up. I want to, you know, run it before I find out if there's any leaks, don't I? Look, it even says Allegro only. I've only got one Allegro, so it must be for that. And that's empty now. There's enough in there to cover the bottom. So we'll knock that off. Next thing to check is my dash pot. See if it's got any in it. Sounds sucky to me. That's good enough. Cursory shake of the clutch fluid and the quick look. Yeah, that's got brake fluid in it. I think we could be putting some petrol in and see what happens. There we go. Let's get some of that into there. There you go, old girl. Right, let's put the battery on. If you hear a whirring noise, that's the CD player buzzing. Sounds good. CD player buzzing, and that means there must be some power in it, mustn't there? I think it's quite a new battery though. I had a new battery, didn't I? So I'm not expecting it to fail. Don't forget to tell me to put the cap back on the engine. That would be a bad idea if I didn't do that. And just double dip the engine just to make sure. Yeah, we're all good there. Now obviously, I don't know if you remember, Agatha is terrible for draining back to the tank from the fuel pump. So this could take a while to crank, but we'll see what happens. Let's get her in. She's in neutral. We've got ignition lights. Let's give her some choke. Let's see what happens. Let her have a rest a minute. Don't want to burn the starter. And she's away. What about that? Let's knock some choke off. Oh, too soon with the choke off. Okay. Yeah, the exhaust still hasn't fixed itself. I've got a blowing exhaust, if you remember. Still hasn't fixed itself, but it won't, you see. The manifold's got a crack in it, and I was going to get the manifold off over winter, do you remember? Maybe next winter, eh? Let's see if the choke will go in now. Almost all the way in, that is. Come on, old girl. How's that? Let's let her warm up a bit. Well, while she's warming up, we'll check the lights. So I've got 2 side lights and a number plate light working. 2 side lights out the front. Have we got headlights? Yes, we have. Do we have main beam? Where's the main beam on this? Come on. You haven't driven it for a while, have you? There it is. Yeah, they're working. No fog light. Indicators. Yeah, one side. No, we haven't got a back one that side. Universal fix. Have a look what we've got. There we go. Crappy connection. I shall have to have a look at that. Of course, the earth's terrible on these. It's the housing is the earth. There we go. That's that side done. Don't you wish modern cars were like this, eh? Other side. Let's do the back first. Same again on this side. We've got no indicator, and then we now have an indicator. Excellent. And we've got a front one, and obviously no side repeaters because it's too old. Hazards for a laugh. I don't think they ever work. Oh, proved me wrong. Well done, Agatha. They do, you never know when you're going to need them. Hope that doesn't bite me on the arse tomorrow. So, the only thing to check now is brake lights. I shall wedge a stick in, purely for entertainment value. If this works, I'm going to be a superstar on the internet. Brake pedal. Come on. Oh yes. Trust me, the other side's working. I can see it from inside. Oh yeah. Hey, the full complement. What about that? Right, the choke is off now. We're up to temperature. You can see the flappy thing's opened. Sounds alright. Obviously a bit blowy as always. Can't see any visible leaks. Obviously need to check that the clutch and the brakes work. I don't know if I've ever showed you. This is why the car's such a pain in the arse in the garage. So, especially with the new van, it's now even longer. So I can't get the garage door open with the van on and with the bikes on. That's 7.2 meters long when it's like that. So consequently now I have to pull the van right forward, open the gates, obviously move Heather's car, the amount of car Jenga juggling, and I think, oh, I can't be asked to get it out. You know what it's like. But what normally happens in the summer is she stays out for most of the summer. However, the insurance runs out in a couple of weeks and then we're on holiday, so I'm going to actually have it off the road and reinsure it in June, I think, just to gain a month insurance, so it'll come back in the garage. So I'm going to get it out of the garage today and then just have a quick toot around the block to see if everything's working, so I'm not far from home, and then we'll go for a drive tomorrow. Right, car Jenga later. So this is the pain. Now the van's too long. My post there that was for the shorter van. That one there is a pain in the arse because I can't open the gates because I can't get to it. So I'm back to using the one that we had when we had the big motorhome. Anyway, so I have to move all that. The red car has to go and hide down the road somewhere. Luckily the neighbours were out, so I pulled the van out there and left it in front of their house. Pulled the Allegro up there and left it up that road. And then Heather brought hers back. I'll put the van back. This is why it doesn't come out a lot. You need one of them garages where it can come straight out. So it usually lives there over the summer, but as I say, it's going to go back in the garage probably sometime in the week, simply for insurance purposes. Anyway, we'll go for a little tootle, but I'm only staying on the estate. Mission successful to a point. I've forgotten how poor brakes are on old cars. It's a while since I've driven it. And yeah, I've forgotten how much it creaks and groans and stuff. But it's alive, isn't it? So, I'm going to give it a quick wash now, I think. I did notice we've got some major little rust bits creeping through from sitting. Bottom of this door started bubbling, look. That there, which to be honest I've sanded and touched up before. Other side, same with this door. Again, I've sanded and touched that up before. The worst thing is the door here. This is the door that I had all cut out and done. It started blowing out there, look. But the wing is still all good. Problem, isn't it? Never ending, really. Anyway, let's give her a quick wash. Not too bad, it's just a bit grimy. Right then, so she's all clean, ready for a drive out tomorrow. As I'm filming this, it's Saturday. Drive it day is tomorrow, the Sunday. So I think I'll do that as a separate video because this is probably too long. And I'll try and release them pretty close together. So I'll catch you on the next one. For me tomorrow, for you a couple of days later maybe. Who knows? If we make it, could all end in tears, couldn't it? You know what it's like. See you later.